Okay? What other questions you got?
You touched on it briefly, but you said stress causes anger. What?
Yeah, stress exacerbates anger.
So what causes it?
Well, not being able to resolve a conflict that was unjustly, implemented on you. So it's the feeling of injustice. That's what creates anger. And it's different for everybody because we all have different experiences in life. But anger is different than stress or anxiety from not being able to cause a conflict because we perceive, and the key word is perceive, that somebody's making an injustice towards us, that somebody's purposefully doing something bad to hurt us or to harm us or to cause us discomfort. And because of that, we get angry because that's the natural reaction to somebody doing something that makes us less whole. And then we want to be made whole. And how do we try to do that? Everybody's looking for revenge. Everybody wants to attack. And unfortunately, vengeance and that aggression, what does that lead to? Does that ever resolve anything? No, because if I hurt him, then he's going to come back and hurt me, and then they're going to hurt, and then it's a never-ending battle. And you're carrying all of that, and you always have to be on high alert, and then you always got to watch your back, and it's never resolved. And that's just nothing but torment and torture for people. So you want to be able to finish the business. In order to finish the business, you got to leave the trash with the person who brought it. You have to reframe it, take exception to it, and then accept responsibility, even though it's not your responsibility. Does that make sense? I didn't, tell the Democrat communist government to close down all the stores and not hire people and try to make life miserable for everybody. But I live in that world. So when I go in there, I have to accept responsibility for that because I can't go and change the White House or do anything. So I have to handle what I can handle. And that's me and how I react to it and what I can do about it. I know never to go there again. I know never to buy things from there again. Okay? That's going to hurt worse. So when people do bad things to you, you have to accept the responsibility of it, even though it's not your fault. Because that's the only way you'll be able to put it away. That's the only way you'll be able to finish that business. Otherwise, you're carrying it all the time. Okay? If that means removing yourself from people, avoiding certain circumstances, being assertive about it and talking to people and making boundaries and limits. We talked about that in relationships. Did that resolve the problem? Yeah. Are you carrying anger and frustration anymore? Okay, so it works quite easily, even with those types of situations. Yes, sir.
What if it's a situation where you can't get
Yeah, and that's why I say then we have to bide our time until that. Give me a situation, and I'll give you a specific answer. He said, what if you can't get out of the situation? What if you're stuck? Let's say like at work with a boss. Or what? Okay, so let's use that. Let's say you're at work with a boss, and he's in a bad mood, and you're doing a job, and let's say he accidentally hits the ladder and knocks you off of it, or you accidentally hit the ladder, knock him off of it, and then is the boss going to be mad at you? Yeah, because he's already frustrated and angry and so on, so he's going to be yelling at you in front of everybody and so on, and what happens? Now, you could say, hey, this and that, and go back and forth, get in a fight, and be fired. Or you can bide your time, breathe a little bit, move yourself if all possible, talk a little bit, or just listen to them, let them vent, apologize, and move on, and then later on deal with it. Does that make sense? Because you got to focus on the here and now and keeping your job. And sometimes you have to sacrifice a little bit. In relationships, same thing. Everybody here, if you've been in a significant relationship, guess what? You've had to eat shit. You've had to say sorry when you're not sorry. You've had to take one for the team. Why? Because it's going to work out better for you. And when you look at the big picture of it, yeah, it wasn't appropriate for him to say that, but now's not the time to fight that. You've got to regroup, get things in order, wait for it to cool down. So you got to handle yourself, and you got to do what's best for you. Then you can come back and revisit that and say, hey, listen, I understand I accidentally hit you, but it was an accident. I didn't try to do it. And I know you're frustrated, but you don't yell at me in front of people like that. That's not appropriate and so on. And I'm not going to take that. You know, you got to treat me like a human being. You got to treat me like a man or a woman. And that's inappropriate. And again, later on, that person's probably going to say, yeah, you know, you're right. I shouldn't have said that. I'm the supervisor. I shouldn't be doing it, but I was angry. And then you get to work it out. You can work
What
it
about,
out.
like, say you go to jail and they won't let you go to medical, and you're just like, wow.
Okay, now you're jumped off the cliff already. So if you're in jail for not being able to control your anger, most likely because you're under the influence, then you got to wait till you sober up, and then you've got to, okay, but that's already jumping off the cliff. So that's not the time you ask that question. Here's what would have stopped it. How about not get drunk, not go out into public and cause issues with other people, and then not get arrested? Let's do that. And then that way you don't have to ask that question.
What about if it's an authority figure and you're not in jail and they're like, they pull you over?
Again, we just said with the boss.
Oh.
We sometimes you got to bite your tongue and say okay and be quiet and then get through it. Once you're through it, then you can go back and fight it. Go to court if it's a ticket, or if an authority figure pulls you over and it's unjust. Fight it. Then you can go to court and you can, have your day in court. But sometimes you're going to lose. Sometimes you're going to lose, even though you're in the right. You're going to lose. So is it worth it? You ever hear the word choose your battles wisely? You may have to lose a few battles to win the war. Because winning the war is what matters, not the battles. You're going to have to take some losses. Okay? Even the NBA teams that may lose a bunch of games, guess what? They win in the end because it's the consistency of it. And sometimes you got to live to fight another day. In order to do that, sometimes you got to take a loss and pick up your wins when you can. Okay? It's about consistency and stability. And you have to choose your battles wisely. Some you just won't win. Not because you're not right, because it's in a situation you can't win. Okay? I can't not pay taxes. Is it unfair? Is it illegal? Yeah. But what am I going to do? I could fight it, but what's going to happen to me? Yeah, I'm going to be talking to you from jail. Okay? And I don't want that. So I have to say, should I pay taxes? And in the end, hire a good tax guy and let him be able to work within the bounds of the law to set up corporations or this or that so I can write off taxes and limit this and that. Yeah, you can do that. You can do it legally. You can do it right, but you would have to educate yourself. You'd have to overcome it that way. You can't fight against something you can't win against. You could, but you're not going to like the result of that. Okay? So